Hello and welcome to Setting the Bar, where we sit down for a virtual chat with best-in-class operational leaders. Today's episode is all about the future of procurement. I'd like you to please welcome Marcell Vollmer, Celonis' Chief Innovation Officer and the former Chief Procurement Officer at SAP. Cheers, Marcell. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Cheers, Divya. It's really a great pleasure and welcome from my side. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's go ahead and get started. So our first question for you is, if you could only track one KPI in procurement, which KPI would it be?
In procurement, I think when you talk to professionals, to CPOs, like a former CPO like myself, basically it would be savings, procurement savings. But I think the time is over. It is no longer just the savings. It is now really the value what procurement can contribute. So if you would ask me today, I really like focusing on one KPI, the value procurement can generate. And that's based on strategic function, focusing on innovations, risk management, and of course, a sustainable supply chain.
Fantastic. I think it's great to hear about the evolution of what it's important to be tracking for procurement. I think procurement has also very much come into the limelight recently as a major value driver during the COVID crisis. Can you tell me a little bit more about some of the specific metrics that you use to talk about that value when you're working with CFOs or CEOs?
So procurement is basically all about the numbers, what you generate and what at the end you have on a contract. And therefore, the procurement savings has been derived from it. But now when you talk to procurement leaders, you see that more and more administrative, operational, tactical tasks are getting automated. And with that, you need also to rethink the way how you organize your procurement function. And by that, you will see that as a procurement function itself, from the number of people, because you don't need people for operational administrative tasks so much any longer, you need to focus on the strategic side. And therefore, strategic procurement basically has three core elements. Number one is driving supplier innovations. We have seen how important it is in the COVID-19 crisis, how to get the mask to cover your face. This was not possible to get. So companies started producing them. Other companies started to produce ventilators. We have seen automotive companies doing that. So that's really an innovative way we need to focus on in the future. Number two, I think we all have seen what risk management and risk mitigation does in the current time of a crisis. And it is not the first crisis. I became appointed as Chief Procurement Officer back in 2011. Most of you might remember Fukushima and a little bit later on the flood in Thailand. So basically we are, I wouldn't say used to crises, but basically we have seen some already before. And with that, a clear focus on risk management is the second priority I would see for strategic procurement function. And last but not least, and the one I'm really speaking out of my heart, is sustainability. We all know how important it is having a sustainable supply chain up and running. On the other side, we also want to avoid child labor, so therefore corporate social responsibility is something we need to focus on. These are the three elements I would see for the future procurement function. And I think when we bring all that together, we need to discuss a little bit deeper what is the right KPI and how to measure the value procurement will bring in the future. But basically, that's for me a more future-oriented KPI, including the three top priorities in that function.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's great to hear about the new priorities, I think, particularly as we enter what you might call a new normal, which is in effect no normal, where everything is consistently changing. So now I'd like to shift the conversation a little bit to understanding what are some of the key and most common challenges that you see organizations facing as they try to drive this value and really demonstrate that via their KPI performance?
I think when I talk to other CPOs and executives in procurement, in finance, operations, supply chain management, basically everyone is currently focusing on driving the digital transformation. We see a lot of disruptive technologies. Everyone wants to build in artificial intelligence capabilities, wants to focus on Internet of Things, connected sensors, things like that. And I think this really keeps a lot of organizations busy to make the transformation happen and define the future organization. On the other side, I also see that how to really now bring also the people to the next level, because you can have the most beautiful technology at the end. If the people not adapting it, basically you will not be successful with that. So therefore, developing the existing people in procurement is definitely another priority, what I see right now, and most people are concerned about.
Great, great. And on a maybe slightly more optimistic note, what are some of the most exciting trends and developments that you're seeing in the procurement space?
I think procurement is now really getting a lot of attention, and I see a lot of interest in the function. Of course, the COVID-19 crisis, there's nothing good in that, but we see there's an acceleration in driving digital transformation, and there's currently a very clear focus on supply chain management and procurement.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Marcell. Really appreciate your time in joining us today. And thank you all so much for watching today's episode of Setting the Bar. Cheers.
Cheers and very welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.